What if the entire Twilight saga never happened? What if the compassionate doctor who created a family of vegetarian vampires had lived and died human? What if Carlisle Cullen, foundation of everything, never existed as an immortal at all? In the original timeline, his transformation in 1663 sets everything in motion. Edward's salvation in 1918, Bella's arrival in Forks in 2005, and the confrontation with the Volturi that almost ended it all. But what if that first domino never fell? What if the man who would become the patriarch died human, forgotten, leaving only a tombstone in London? Imagine London, 1663, young Carlisle Cullen, son of a pastor obsessed with hunting monsters. He's 23 years old. In the original timeline, he leads a raid into the sewers, is attacked, and transforms. But what if he fell ill with plague first? What if he died in his bed, mortal, never knowing the supernatural world existed? Let's explore the timeline where his absence erases an entire saga. 1663. London. Carlisle Cullen dies of plague. His father buries him in an unmarked grave. Disappointed his son never continued the Holy Crusade. Vampires remain hidden. Humans remain ignorant. One young man's death means nothing to history, but everything to the people who will never be saved. 1980 in Chicago. The Spanish influenza sweeps the nation. In a hospital, a young man named Edward Mazan lies dying. His mother's last words, "Save him, do anything," are spoken to a human doctor who cannot perform miracles. Edward Mazan dies on September 13th. There is no vampire doctor to save him. No 3 days of transformation. Edward Mazan becomes a statistic. Anema on a stone, 1921. Wisconsin. Isma. Asman Platt. Evanson throws herself off a cliff. Her body is found by locals and buried in a small cemetery. There is no vampire doctor to recognize her faint heartbeat. Isma dies believing she has nothing left, never knowing she could have loved again. 1933. Rochester, Rosalie Halle is brutalized and left dying in the street. A human doctor finds her hours later. It's too late. Rosalie dies from her injuries. There is no revenge. She dies, powerless, voiceless, a cautionary tale forgotten by history. 1935. Tennessee. Emmett McCarty encounters a bear. The mauling is swift. There is no beautiful vampire woman to beg for his transformation. Emmett dies doing what he loved, never knowing he could have had a century of strength. His story ends in the mountain dirt. 1948. Philadelphia. Mary Alice Brandon wakes in an asylum with no memory. Without Carlisle's influence, she's left to a tracker named James. Alice Brandon dies in the asylum, her visions dismissed as madness. James moves on, never knowing the girl he killed could see the future. Jasper Whitlock continues his existence alone in the Southern Wars. Without Alice's visions guiding him, he remains a killer, a soldier, a weapon. 2005. Forks, Washington. The town is exactly as it's always been. Rain falls constantly. Nothing supernatural has ever happened here. Bella stays in Arizona, finishes college, and lives a normal life. She never meets Edward Cullen because he has been dead for 87 years. Jacob Black grows up on the reservation. The gene that makes him phase never activates because there are no vampires to trigger it. The entire town remains blissfully ignorant. No nomadic vampires, no baseball games in thunderstorms. Forks is peaceful, boring, normal. Volterra, Italy. The Volturi rule with absolute authority. Without Carlisle, there is no proof. Vampires can resist human blood. The vampire world remains hidden, violent, and ruled by fear. Carlisle's dream a world of compassion never exists because he never lived to dream it. Bella Swan, age 22, graduates from ASU. She writes in her journal, wondering why she feels like something's missing. She'll
How did I let...
The story ends in a cemetery in London, an unmarked grave, weathered by 3 centuries of rain. Carlisle Cullen, 1642-1663. Beloved son. 1 plague victim, 1 absence that erased everything. Does this make Carlisle the most important character? Drop your thoughts below.